What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over everything you need to know about Fortnite's new Mortal Kombat update. As always, if you guys do find this video to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and comment down below what you think of this update or which change you think was most significant. So, as this update, is named, it's a Mortal Kombat update, and this added the Scorpion NPC, his item, and his medallion. The Scorpion NPC will spawn at one of three places, and it just varies game to game which place he's going to spawn. But there is an indicator on the map that'll show you where he is in the match that you're currently in, if he is alive. The pit is, in each of these little landmarks, is a stage from Mortal Kombat. So the pit is east of Shining Span, and this is a bridge POI. The Deadpool is underneath Masked Meadows in the bottom part, but they did change some of the ways in, where you could previously get the Void Mask from the stand. That spot no longer feeds into the Deadpool. Yeah, and it doesn't feed into the Deadpool, and you have to go around through one of the other tunnels. And then finally, the Living Forest is north of Lone Wolf Lair, and this replaces the area where the Sub-Zero NPC spawns. And if he is spawning at that location in your match, there will be a bell that you have to ring at that landmark to summon him. And then once you ring that bell, Scorpion spawns in. When you eliminate him, he will drop a mythic version of his Kombat Kit and his medallion. There is the regular Scorpion Kombat Kit that is just in the general loot pool, and the mythic version you get from him, I assume, does extra damage and has extra durability, or, better durability, similar to the mythic Typhoon Blade we had from defeating Shogun X in Season 1. And his Kombat Kit is a melee weapon. It's somewhat similar to the firebending as far as the regular melee attack goes. You just kind of, you do your melee, it does damage. And then there is an alternate attack that allows you to drag players to you, similar to the Hades chain. I believe with the Hades chain, you would hold the button and then hit your attack button to do it. With this, you just tap your aim down sight button and you'll, unleash a hook and drag people to you. And then the idea is that you can drag them to you and then spam them with the melee aspects. I've seen people do this, up buildings to potentially cause people fall damage, into rifts with the new rift launcher. And then you also can use the chain or the drag ability to fish loot or pull loot to you. So you can fish fishing spots with it, but you can also just pull loot to yourself if that is something you need to do. Overall, this is not an item that I'm a big fan of because I just don't really care for the melee weapons. They're not a very fun or exciting way to play the game, in my opinion. And as each of them does have minor differences, but at the end of the day, you just get close to the opponent and spam the attack button, and then hopefully you've done more damage to them than they've done to you, if that's the way you're trying to play the game. So I'm not the biggest fan of this item, as I kind of usually am as far as melee weapons go. His medallion, I think, is quite good, but it's not like super game-changing or super overpowered. What it does is it gives you explosive damage on the first shot out of your weapon's magazine, and from my experience, this just added 20 damage off your first shot. So you got whatever damage your first shot was going to get, plus 20 for this explosive aspect. And as I said, it's only on the first shot of your weapon in the mag. So if you're using this on like an AR or an SMG, it'll be helpful in certain situations, but it's not like consistently helpful because you have to keep reloading to take advantage of it. And that's not really something I would do. Where this is going to be most helpful, I think, is going to be with shotguns and with the Mammoth pistol, because with the Sentinel pump and the Infiltrator pump, you can reload one shell at a time, so it's very easy to keep your weapon loaded over the course of a fight. And then also the Mammoth pistol only has one shot per mag anyway, so you can easily take advantage of that added damage with the medallion, and I think it's quite good. It's not like, holy, you need to get this, but it's nice to have, and there's certain situations where that 20 extra damage could make a big difference for you, especially in shotgun fights. Some other loot pool changes in this update are going to be that the Twin Mag AR, the Infiltrator Pump Shotgun, and the Scoped Burst SMG were unvaulted. So these three items were added to the loot pool. Nothing was vaulted as of the time I'm recording this video, so nothing was removed. There was previously a news tab post that Epic accidentally posted early, like I believe 10 days ago or so. It was on a Friday. They accidentally posted this early, and it said that these three items were coming in, and that the Hollow Twister AR and Sentinel Pump were going to get removed. That is not the case as of now. I don't know if later on they're going to remove those weapons, like later on this week, or maybe they saw the feedback players had about that news post getting, posted early, and decided to not remove those weapons. I don't really know what went on there because I don't work there. But as I said, as of now, nothing was removed from the game. They only added these 3 items. The Twin Mag AR is good, but it actually did get a nerf with it being re-added. The damage, just flat damage, was decreased by 3 for each rarity. Overall, though, I didn't enjoy using it too much today. It's fine. It's a good AR. It's not bad by any means, but it's competing against incredible ARs this season. I think both the Striker Burst AR and the Hollow Twister AR are incredible. The drum gun is incredible. And all of these items have much better hip fire than the Twin Mag AR does, in my opinion. And that was my main kind of dislike of this item when playing today, was just if I'm going to shoot my shotgun and then swap to this, I feel less confident in that than when I'm swapping to a Striker Burst AR or the Hollow Twister AR. At longer ranges, some people may prefer the Twin Mag AR because it does have like more zoom on it, and I found it to be easier to shoot players out of the sky today, like people using the Rift Launcher, for example, and an easier time hitting them. But overall, I think I would still rather carry one of those other ARs because I feel like they're just as good in AR fights, if not maybe better. And then also, I like them more in close range fights, which is something that really matters to me because I think a lot of the fights that are, you know, the more important fights over the course of the game are going to come down to you having to push the enemy and deal with them in close range. So the Twin Mag AR is not bad by any means. It's just, I don't think as good this season because the other ARs are better. And then the Infiltrator pump might as well be a different gun from when it was last in the game. It got its damage increased by about like 15 to 20, depending on which rarity of it you have. And then its max damage was increased by 40 for each rarity. So this is a pretty significant damage buff. With how shotguns go in Fortnite, whatever the max damage is or that damage cap can be very limiting, and expanding that is a pretty significant change on top of just expanding its base damage. And so you're probably thinking, holy crap, the Infiltrator pump is going to be overpowered now. And it's fine, I guess. I didn't really enjoy using it that much today, but I probably need to use it more and get more used to it. But one thing that's negative is that its fire rate was decreased from 1.2 to 1, and that's shots per second. So this isn't a massive fire rate difference, but it is a fire rate difference. So it's got a damage increase and a fire rate decrease. It's a pretty different weapon. It has good range still and good spread, so it's a decent like chip shotgun. But in, you know, shotgun fights where, you know, me and an opponent are playing around a piece of cover and I need to hit one like really high damage shot to end that fight, I feel so much more confident with the Sentinel pump than I do the Infiltrator pump, even with its damage increase. And the damage increase is nice, but like I said, it's not enough to make me want to use it over the Sentinel pump. At least that's how I feel now. And then its fire rate decrease makes it feel more similar to a pump. When this was initially in the game, it was kind of like a weird middle ground between a pump and a spammy shotgun. Now it's like slow enough to where I don't feel like this is a good spammy shotgun. Like I don't want to be in a fight and just use this the entire time, like how you could with like the Gatekeeper shotgun, for example. I still feel like inclined to swap to another weapon, but it's not like the fire rate is so slow that I want to stay on that weapon for a long time. With the Sentinel pump, I shoot one pump shot and then swap to my burst and shoot 2 bursts and then back to the pump, and that's like good timing. With this Infiltrator pump, it would be like you swap to the burst and shoot 1 burst, or you swap to your Hollow Twister and shoot, you know, a smaller amount of ammo. And so I haven't really found what I consider to be the ideal way to play with this weapon. But the fact that it's like not super hard hitting like a pump, but also isn't spammy like a spammy shotgun, I feel like just puts it in like a weird middle ground where it doesn't have any of the extreme weaknesses of one of the style of shotguns, but it doesn't have one of the good strengths either. It's more like a jack of all trades, master of none style shotgun. And some people might like that, but I kind of prefer a weapon with more upside that I can play around, and maybe more downside that I can also play around and try to like min-max that. So I think a lot of people will maybe like this gun, but it wasn't my favorite playing today. Both of those screenshots on the weapons I just had on screen had the mythic version listed, but the mythic versions aren't actually in the game. It's just when Fortnite updates a weapon and nerfs it or buffs it, they buff all of the rarities, because I think those rarities are available in creative still. But like I said, it's only white to gold that is currently in the loot pool. Mythic is not in the loot pool for these weapons. And then the scoped Burst SMG was also added, as I said, and it's fine, I guess. This is a weapon which, again, I don't think is bad by any means, but I don't really feel that inclined to use it outside of like off spawn. Mainly just because I only want to use 2 guns, and while this gun is good in like close to medium range, it really falls off at longer ranges, so it isn't as versatile as some of the other ARs, I think. But it's not a terrible weapon, and like I said, off spawn, it could be good. The Sub-Zero Kombat Kit also got a minor damage buff with this update. I think it got increased damage by 5 on some of the attacks, so not the biggest deal, but also like added damage is nice if that's something you enjoy using. The water sprites were added back into the loot pool today. They were previously vaulted due to a bug, but that bug has been fixed, and now the water sprites are back. And then finally, the Dilbit server farms now have a chance to actually drop Dilbits. And these farms and jewelry stores now actually show on the map with little indicators like how, you know, the black markets do or the vaults do. So these Dilbit farms and jewelry stores have a chance to spawn Dilbits, and, you know, that may or may not be something you want to take advantage of. I feel like at this point in time, it's really not that difficult to get Dilbits. A lot of people kind of have leveled up their key card to legendary. So if you are rushing to get one of those Dilbit purchases as fast as possible, you kind of have to land on the black market to get it. But that is going to be it for this video and this update. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more. Let me know what you think of the update down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.